With breaking news, it is worse than they are reporting. The big question on everyone's mind when it comes to IRS data and the breach that just happened, how big is this going to get? What can be done to ensure that, well, they're reporting 100,000 victims. What are they doing to ensure that it's not more than that and don't become a million or several million? We have a man with a plan, and he plans to run for president with it. Let's bring him in. Details from former IRS Commissioner and current GOP presidential candidate Mark Everson. Right off the bat, Mark, do you believe this 100,000 number, or is it more?
Thanks for having me, Liz. It remains to be seen. It's really hard to know. What this is the sophisticated use of data. Maybe it came from Target, maybe it came from Home Depot, who knows? But it's being used in a very sophisticated way to penetrate the IRS and then pull back even more information. So as you indicate, I think there are three things that we need to do. First, obviously at the IRS, they need to strengthen their controls. One question I would ask is this system subject to the same controls as the core tax return systems? They need to make whatever adjustments, and they need to make it fast, of course. Sure. But there are two broader points, and you mentioned the Congress, Liz. First, the Congress should immediately rewrite the laws so that the sequencing of information is different. Right now, employer wage data and bank financial information comes to the IRS after the taxpayers are actually start filing their tax returns. That should be flipped so that the IRS has all the right information so that there's no refund fraud, or it's much less refund fraud.
Let me jump in right here, because I want to just explain to people that this is not a hack. They didn't somehow worm their way into the system. They were just smart. They figured out how to get things like birth dates, addresses, high schools that people had attended. They went into the Get Transcript part of the IRS's website, and they had a lot of answers. They somehow managed to do this. But, Mark, how big is this going to get? I worry that they said that there were 200,000 attempts, only 100,000 successes, but they were managing to get 50 million in fraudulent refunds. The hackers are smarter than us, aren't they?
There's no doubt that they are extremely sophisticated, and that's why Congress needs to make these changes. One, on the sequencing of the filing information, but two, Liz, you mentioned that I'm a candidate for president. One of my 6 points, which your viewers can see on markforamerica.com, is all about taxes, and it would largely solve this problem. I favor something called a competitive tax plan, which would bring in a consumption tax, and you could take 150 million Americans off the income tax rolls. If they're not getting refunds, then the bad guys can't go to the IRS and claim the refund. So this would be a huge step forward in combating fraud. The plan would also, it would leave the higher income earners on the tax rolls, but at reduced rates, and it would lower corporate rates, so it would get the economy growing again. But it really would make a big difference on this identity theft and fraud. Mark, and we've got to get after that. Otherwise, who knows where it'll go.
Absolutely. How serious are you about running for president? You're a GOP presidential candidate. I didn't see all of the drama associated with what we see when Marco Rubio announces Hillary Clinton. Everybody's waiting on Scott Walker. You're really serious about this?
Look, I'm speaking to you from Iowa. I've got a campaign office out here. We're making an active campaign. I was in Oklahoma City last week at the Southern Republican Leadership Conference, and I beat Lindsey Graham and John Kasich in the straw poll. So, we're making a go of this. We're picking up steam, and we're going to have at it.
Well, I've been with you on Mike Milken panels, and I think you're terrific, and I will be watching this very closely. In the meantime, you are saying Congress needs to act now, and that this could get a lot worse at the IRS level. Thank you, Mark. Good to see you.
Nice to see you, Liz.
Mark Everson is former IRS Commissioner and, yes, GOP presidential candidate. We need to hear from you. First off, do you think the IRS breach is just the tip of the iceberg? Are you worried? Do you have any sense of whether you have had your data breached? Please give us a shout on Facebook.com/Liz Claman.